Individualism, Part 2, Chapter 2, Section B. Executive Departments Assimilated. Number 1. The Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. The Department of Health and Human Services should be entitled the Department of Human Injustices. This department, along with its sub-agencies, creates any drama to justify the presence of their unnecessary departments only to sustain their own existence, not the well-being of the citizens. They are simply outlets for corrupt officials to lend money to organizations who will in turn return a contribution to them. This money is none other than the people's money, and little of it benefits them. Of all of the executive departments, this one will be examined most extensively. A. The ACF, Administration for Children and Families. Wrongly titled Federal Aid, taxpayers' aid being a more precise term, individual welfare is a crutch which perpetuates weakness. This subject is discussed in detail on page 104. The individualist shall examine in detail the mission statement of this department and weigh them against reality. Quote, the Administration for Children and Families, the ACF, within the United States Department of Health and Human Services, provides national leadership and creates opportunities for families to lead economically and socially productive lives. ACF's programs are designed to help children to develop into healthy adults and communities to become more prosperous and supportive of their members. End quote. Major goals. Quote, ACF is responsible for federal programs that promote economic and social well-being of families, children, individuals, and communities. ACF programs aim to achieve the following. End quote. The ACF succeeded in only creating dependency, the opposite of independence, a cornerstone of democracy. Quote, families and individuals empowered to increase their own economic independence and productivity. End quote. They succeed in the exact opposite, thus they fail their mission statement and need disbanded to prevent further waste and incompetent failure. Quote, strong, healthy, supportive communities that have a positive impact on the quality of life and the development of children. End quote. Every welfare community is weak and rife with drugs, thievery, and prostitution, causing all businesses to close. This decreases available jobs and increases the dependency upon handouts. Thus, the children they claim to develop are only developed into better criminals who will better understand the system of taxpayer handouts. Again, great success in the exact opposite of what they claim. Quote, partnerships with individuals, frontline service members, communities, American Indian tribes, Native communities, states, and Congress that enable solutions which transcend traditional agency boundaries. End quote. These partnerships are had because the dependency of their vast army of welfare recipients causes these recipients to vote in the favor of any politician or group declaring to assist welfare. Thus, this dependency is purposefully maintained as a guaranteed block of voters. Quote, services planned, reformed, and integrated to improve needed access. End quote. Which increases dependency in all of the above-mentioned forces by making the dispensions of handouts more efficient. Quote, a strong commitment to working people with developmental disabilities, refugees, and migrants to address their needs, strengths, and abilities. End quote. Assisting in this manner weakens individual strengths and abilities by not having individuals acquire their own needs, thus exercising their own latent abilities and strengths. Summary, this backwards and blind department does exactly the opposite of what it claims. It is disbanded without delay to engender recovery and healing of all the communities it has corrupted with individualistic self-sustenance knowledge and teaching, which will accordingly cut off voting assistance to those who support weakness in mankind to exercise control. Simply by opening one's eyes can one see that the level of poverty and number of destitute neighborhoods is rapidly increasing. This establishment is obviously ineffective. B. The AOA, the Administration on Aging. Disbanded. This establishment is a smiling face of the venomous pharmaceutical industry. It longs to convince as many people as possible that they are weak, and then lead them astray from natural health care, such as proper diet and exercise. It persuades them that there is a magic pill for every ailment, and gets them to take as much as possible. The Medicare and grants that they offer go directly to the pharmaceutical industry and their heinous associates, most of which are supplying unnecessary health care, which taxes insurance and Medicare. Programs supporting age are not needed in the individualistic society. The individualistic elders are the icons of society. They are the wisest, strong in mind, body, and spirit. They have honed themselves continually to ever-increasing perfection, not allowing themselves to waste away into decrepit invalids unable to remember what they had for breakfast. C. The AHRQ, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. Disbanded. It is in this department where data reports, which may have been initially truthful and honest, are edited, tainted, and finally released. The information is skewed to make one favor and rely on products or services from specific providers in bed with government officials. Competing healthcare providers are deemed low quality, thereby directing the flow of business towards the corrupt. D. CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Disbanded. This department is a collection of paralyzed individuals who report only what is impossible to cover up any longer. It is persistent and determined citizens, not the CDC, who eventually bring an end to the practice of using under-tested chemicals in mass quantities. These chemicals grant to the public the strange diseases like MS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and endless types of cancers. The ambiguous name describing all unexplained mutation. When this department is forced into a study, its pace is slow and hindered by the industry, who is known to be responsible yet is too influential to circumnavigate. E. CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Disbanded, rendered obsolete by national health care. The Medicare Prescription Drug Improvement and Modernization Act, or Medicare Modernization Act, MMA, signed by President George W. Bush on December 8, 2003, is a massive overhaul to Medicare and was enacted with hardly any public debate. It was created by and for the drug, healthcare, and insurance industries, with the executives of these companies being on the advisory committee drafting the bill. In just the preceding year, the pharmaceutical and health industries made political contributions amounting to roughly $27 million and hired 675 lobbyists, over half with federal ties, 26 former Congress members, spending over $91 million in lobbying efforts. Many supporters were given campaign contributions, including George W. Bush, receiving $466,000 in 1999. Whose administration had ties to the pharmaceutical industry, such as Bush Sr. and Mitch Daniels being directors of Eli Lilly, and Gail Walensky holding $10.5 million in health industry stock. This bill was a blatant manipulation of government for the private interests at the expense of the people. Nonsense as this stands in the way of simplistic healthcare, not raped by thieves in the guise of representatives, healers, and lawyers. This manipulation shows that they have profitable reasons, not logical ones, for demonizing national healthcare, showing that without their profits and control, healthcare would be simple and affordable for all. F. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Disbanded. Employing some 1,200 individuals, the FDA oversees products totaling $1.5 trillion in annual sales, approximately 10% of the U.S. market. The FDA is an arm of the food, chemical, and pharmaceutical industry, not an arm or ally of the people. It exists only to protect its masters and curb skew and slow justice, court proceedings, and the facts, such as the approval of Monsanto's genetically engineered hormones and covering up evidence of cancerous mutations. It is operated by public money, yet it poisons the people and defends private corporations. At times, it receives much corporate funding, and often its officials are appointed with special interests. See page 95 on aspartame. The FDA is influenced by synthetic chemical and pharmaceutical manufacturers to look the other way, insufficiently test synthetics, give bias articles, or make hasty decisions based on too little information. Contrarily, at times, they slow decisions of safety while holding overwhelming evidence of hazards, worried more about the multi-billion-dollar profit of those funding them than the myriad of adverse effects caused in the human organism. Often specific officials are funded by or benefiting from investments in the companies they regulate. Regulation policy thus becomes riddled with loopholes, such as the known mutanogen BHT not having to be listed on products which contain it if its amount is under 5% of an ingredient. G. The HRSA, the Health Resources and Services Administration. Disbanded. This is a data center of information which funnels businesses towards the healthcare providers, services, and products which support this department and in turn are supported by it by receiving grants from it. It is a data bank of disinformation and corrupt resources. It holds no information encouraging self-health care or natural herbs, etc., nor are any grants awarded for such applications. It is simply to funnel and steer the ignorant to the slaughterhouse, where they will receive their very own parasite to drain their life and money from them. H. The IHS, the Indian Health Service. Disbanded. An insult to a nation which never had a disease or the need for a health service. This stands as a testimony to the natural individualistic way of life. To live unnatural and inharmonious is to have unnatural and inharmonious ailments manifest in the body. A strong spiritual belief overshadowing the material nature of existence is a foundation of strong health. This department does nothing to educate the masses of the abject poverty these people have been subjected to by crushing their culture and forcing them into materialism, the opposite of the spiritual life they once enjoyed. Their people raped and enslaved by the heroic Columbus and forced to learn the language and teachings of dependency, while theirs, of true independence, was erased and forgotten. For this, the Native Americans will receive free health care in the individualistic society.